There are legends in the building. Like, comment, and subscribe. Now, today I want to talk about Matchroom promotions. So, there's a few things that I'm gonna get into, but there's quite a lot to unpack with what I'm gonna address. So I'm gonna play a few clips, and then I'm gonna give commentary on the clips. So the first thing I want to just say before I play them is there's a lot of things going on in the Matchroom stable, and there's a lot of fighters that are being accused of basically being dirty. So I'm gonna play the clips and then I'm gonna get into it after that. So in no further ado.
Yes, sir. What's up?
Are you the guy who supplied Dylan White with some stuff?
I am. Yes,
I wonder why he failed.
I am the one still.
You supplied him with what?
I supplied him with the good stuff.
The good stuff.
The good stuff, you know what I'm saying?
You know, he supplied Dylan White with the good stuff.
You can't do this.
I don't give a shit.
What happened to the fight? We wanted to watch the rematch, you know, AJ and Dylan. You know, I spoke to Dylan. Dylan feels bad. He goes, you know, Eddie, you did something with his bloods, you know, so I don't know.
Definitely didn't want this part.
No, I spoke to him. He said you did something with his blood. I'm like, what did he do?
I knew I'd get the plane.
Somebody has to get the blame.
Exactly. Thank you.
But anyway,
The rematch with White, but you know, and what another thing as well, innocent until proven guilty. You know, we've seen it in recent days where, you know, Conor Benn had been dragged through the mud about his failed test, but it's not failed until it's ruled you've cheated in some way, shape, or form, and he's been exonerated. So let's not jump on Dylan just yet until all the evidence is in. You know, look what happened when he fought Rivas. The same thing it seemed to happen with Rivas before the fight. There was an adverse finding, transpired. It wasn't anything to worry about. But this time, I think because of the heat surrounding drug testing, the promoters don't want any part of it. They don't want a fighter getting in the ring with an unfair advantage, potentially damage may be done. Are they then an accomplice to murder if a fighter is, if the worst does happen? So everyone's being super careful. But somehow either Derek's got a crystal ball, or he knows something. He knows some very, very high up, interesting individuals in the drug testing setup. But he knew he was as confident as anything that was happening.
Well,
so I didn't pay much mind to it.
The test with Baumgartner, and I'll say, like, you're innocent until proven guilty, you know, and just let the facts come back before y'all prejudge and everything. Just let the facts come back. That's all I got to say about that.
On the Voice of the People hotline, Jessica, how are you, champ?
Yo, what's up, guys? You guys good?
We're good. We're good. Super happy you're willing to talk on the matter.
Yeah, I got a lot to say, like, super quick. I'm on date night with Brick. I left him at the bar real quick. I was like, I got to get on and support Alicia. I told her I support her. So, I mean, the shit that I'm about to say right now is like, they might fuck up my next fight with Sandy Ryan, but I'm going to say it one time. So if y'all are listening, y'all better scream record this shit because I'm not saying it again. So let's do the math like really quick, okay? Alicia signed a multiple fight contract with Matchroom in beginning January 2022. Multiple fights. She had 4 fights. She has a mandatory now who is Chow, right? When you have a mandatory, you don't necessarily have to have a promoter. It's like mine went to a bid. And what happened to my fight? I was supposed to fight like June 24th or something like that. I signed my contract. My opponent signed my contract, and they asked me to sign a Matchroom re-up with them for 3 more fights. I was like, let's finish this mandatory and figure out what's gonna happen. what happened because I did not sign the contract with Matchroom. They took my opponent and gave her to Terry Harper. So at that point, I had no fight. So at that point, I had to sign back up with Matchroom for a couple more fights. With her, she got to fight Choi, and they're not saying, hey, Alicia signed another multiple fight contract. They're saying Alicia popped hot. So maybe she's not signing the contract. Maybe she's like putting Matchroom in a corner somewhere and they don't like that. So all of a sudden, quote unquote, she popped hot. Fuck out of here. So, I mean, I feel like there's a lot of shady shit that goes on. A lot of people don't know the background of what happens behind the scenes in boxing. Honestly, fans don't really care. They just want to see fights. People want to talk about how Alicia looks really muscular. She been looking muscular. She came into the game looking the way that she looks. And a professional, she got over 4,000 followers on Instagram. So, and she got sponsors. So she's not gonna be out here looking fat. She ain't gonna be out here, boozing and looking crazy. She got money coming in. So she's gonna stay fit. Nobody says, wow, Canelo looks like super fit when he's not fighting. No, nobody talks out of pocket like that. So now they want to come at her all super crazy. I look fit 24/7 because I stay in the gym 24/7. Better not nobody talk shit about me either. I'm out here trying to find like separate sources to get tested because I don't trust people talking about hey, go get tested with VADA. VADA doesn't come through. Who comes through? WADA. WADA is a different company than VADA. There's multiple people that are testing you when it comes to if you're a Matchroom fighter or not. And that shit is just, it's not controlled. WADA does not send your test results to you. They keep them. I got tested by WADA when I fought Cecilia. So I don't know if Cecilia tested negative or positive or what, because they didn't send that information. I contacted VADA and said, hey, did you guys send somebody to test me? And they said no. Why would they send WADA when they have a contract with us? So shady shit happens all the time. I support Alicia. They're like, look at Conor Benn. They tried to conceal Conor Benn up until the fucking actual fight day. And somebody leaked it and it came out. So if they can conceal people's test results, they can also make up fake test results. That's all I got to say.
Champ,
I'm not repeating it. So
I know you said you're not repeating it, but to be clear, you insinuating that some shady shit could be happening because she doesn't want to re-sign with Matchroom.
That is a very large possibility. When you look on the ESPN Instagram post, people are saying, man, it's so sketchy that all the Matchroom fighters are popping hot. Maybe they're not re-signing. Maybe they're trying to separate themselves from Matchroom, and Matchroom is like, I don't think so, and start pulling like mad crazy cards. Like, I think they want to make you a puppet in a certain way.
Champ, I gotta ask you, aren't you fearful that you just said this and now you'll end up mysteriously popping hot?
Yes. That's why I'm out here. I got other people that's testing me so I can have my receipts. I'm telling you, first thing I said when I came on the call, there's a chance they gonna pull my next card if they hear this. But I'm just trying to keep it real. Like, I'm not gonna be in boxing forever, and I'm not gonna be nobody's bitch. So I'm gonna tell you how I see it, and it's up to them to prove whether it's wrong or not, because it's looking super flaky to me on this side. And y'all know I don't never say nothing unless it's actual factual. So this is just my life and how it comes to me. So I'm just trying to tell y'all what I see. But I don't really like talk about it because it's like fans want to see fights. They don't really care about the other stuff that happens behind the scenes. And I get that. So I'm not going to burden people with like, oh, this is my life. Ooh, ooh, ooh. I'm going to just get out there and try to beat somebody's ass.
Now, to be clear and fair, you yourself have always been muscular. I remember meeting you and putting our hands together because I was so shocked at how big your hands are. Again, are you fearful that you can get the same rap because you have the same body physique?
Anybody can get the rap. Like, I literally talked to a VADA rep and said, hey, I'm just looking at trying to get more testing so that I can have just receipts of like what my training camp is going through and making sure that I have like all the information that I need. And the lady was scared to talk to me. She wouldn't tell me how much the VADA testing was. She kept telling me to talk to the promoter. She was like, oh, this is very expensive. It's like, no, I'm sure I can cover it. Don't worry about that. But she just would not even talk to me about VADA testing. It's all run by the promoters. So if they're controlling it, like I haven't even gotten my VADA test from the last Chantel fight. I don't know if she pop hot. I don't know if I pop hot. It's no information. Like it's not consistent. So it's like I have no faith in VADA at this point. I need to get my own private testing. I have my receipts. So if somebody comes talking crazy, it's going to be a legal issue because it's like when you just like say, oh, she's on PEDs, you're messing up their livelihood. You're messing up people and all of that. And it's like, okay, if somebody go and shoot themselves in the head because you're talking about they PEDs and now the whole world is coming down on them and you were just trying to control their career, that's super fucked up, right? Like
Absolutely.
you have to have your receipts.
Well, Jessica, I know you're on.
So the first clip is Derek Chisora basically trolling, and he is alluding to the Dillian White escapade, and he's just trolling, messing about, saying that the guy in the video is the person that supplied Dillian with PEDs. Now, the reason why I played that clip first is to show that Derek likes to joke, but also he has some truth to his joking. So there's a saying, there's truth in jest, but with Derek, he says stuff sometimes and he says it tongue in cheek, but he uses it to hide when he's trying to put out something, because he is fairly honest in some of the things that he does and he likes to expose things. So I just included that in just to highlight that. So in the next clip, I made a video on this. Derek basically exposes Eddie Hearn and basically says that it's his fault that Dillian popped dirty. Now, I don't know if he's joking or if he's telling the truth. We won't actually ever know. But we do know Eddie did not want the AJ fight for Dillian White and Joshua. He didn't want it. White basically forced his hand to get the fight, and he did it publicly and he did it strategically as well, because what he actually did is he forced Matchroom to take that fight by basically giving them no option and outing them on TalkSport, which was a pretty smart strategy. And then he also made them get rid of the rematch clause. So if somebody's going to go to them lengths to do that, why would they pop dirty for PEDs when they've gone through all that rigmarole to fight Anthony Joshua? And we all know Dillian White wants to fight Anthony Joshua. He's wanted to fight him and rematch him for a long time. The only other obstacle has been in this scenario is AJ himself, because what he did is he basically lowballed Dillian so he wouldn't have to take the fight. Initially he did that. In this scenario they lowballed him again, but he still bit and took the fight, knowing he's not going to make the money what he's supposed to make. But because of obviously the Tyson Fury loss and other factors, he's just willing to accept the fight to keep busy and basically to steal the Deontay Wilder fight. Now, that's what Eddie is scared of. He's scared of losing that big payday with Deontay Wilder. And we know Eddie, he likes to think ahead. He always plans his fights ahead. So he always has his eye set to the future. And he never stays present. He always tries to plan ahead. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. In this scenario, it may have worked, But anyway, Dillian's popped, so he's out of the frame, and Joshua fights Elenius. So in the next clip, we have David Hay saying that he knew, well, not he knew, but Derek told him, I think a week ago, that Dillian wasn't going to fight and he was going to take his place. Now, I watched some other footage, and basically people were saying that the friends, so that fight would never take place. But I think it was down to negotiations over money why that fight never took place, and also because Derek already prepared for Gerald Washington, so that's why that fight stayed on. And plus it was like a semi, I don't know, headliner with Joshua. Joshua's the main show, but like it could be a supporting like bout as well, because Derek still brings in a big crowd. So, and Derek, from the initial press conference, I got the impression, because I've already watched that press conference, that Eddie didn't want him because he was too expensive, and it was Prince Khalid that got him onto the bill as a favour, and they paid basically Derek's wages to get him on the bill, because they wanted him on the bill, because basically Eddie didn't want him. So come on, we've got Eddie Hearn, tight as flipping brass knuckles, doesn't want to pay Derek, when Derek's always came out for him and always drawing the crowd in, and always had him having shows on and stuff, and basically brought the British public out to make him money. He doesn't want to pay him, but he wants him on the card, but he didn't want to pay him. So basically that fight might not have took place if Prince Khalid had not been in the frame. So we've got that aspect there as well. And then obviously he didn't initially want the Dillian White fight, but he got it. But then White pops dirty, you know, was it 5 or 7 days before the actual fight takes place? It's a bit bizarre. But anyway, moving on to the other clips, we've got Clarissa Shield saying that we should wait before we accuse people, and innocent before guilty, in the basically the Alicia Baumgardner saga. So Alicia Baumgardner popped dirty for certain PEDs, and basically this was, I think, after a few days after the Linadatu fight, but apparently she was tested before the fight, I think 3 days before the fight, and she passed. And this was with Vardo, and then 3 days after, I think it's 4 or 5 days after, she popped dirty. So we've got that, and she was a matchroom fighter as well, and apparently she was negotiating a new contract, and I think they wanted her to fight on, I think they wanted to basically renew the contracts for her to fight on. So anyway, she popped dirty, so basically she's having to basically protest her innocence, and we're just gonna have to go and see. So then we've got the next clip, which is Jessica Mcaskill has phoned into the Boxing Voice, and basically she is giving her version of certain events and explaining why Alicia Baumgardner might have popped dirty. Now, I'm just going to backtrack a minute and talk about weaponized drug testing in boxing. Now, Hatman mentioned this in one of his videos, that his fans have said that there's weaponized drug testing going on in boxing, and that basically certain promoters are weaponizing drug testing So if certain fighters don't do their bidding or they're not pliable to what their demands are, they pop dirty basically. And then I think there was two aspects to it, what he was mentioning. Basically, he could make them pop dirty for whatever substance, and then they'd get basically banned, or they'd have to face allegations, or that all fighters are on it and he can manipulate the basically findings, so whoever he wants to pop dirty will pop dirty, and whoever he doesn't want to pop dirty won't pop dirty. So there's that aspect there. Now it sounds a bit conspiracy theory, but I do find it highly coincidental that 1, 2, 3 matchroom fighters have popped dirty within the past, I think it's the past month in this series of time, and I think it's 2 women and 1 man. Now Dillian's not necessarily a matchroom fighter, but he fights on their shows. But there has been a falling out of late with him and Eddie Hearn. You can see basically from the press conference for the initial AJ and White press conference, where White was complaining and basically having a go at Eddie for not coming to see him when he came out to America, when he went to see AJ and then didn't go to see him. So there was already like strained relationship, and then it's not that in the past when Eddie's favoured AJ when it comes to business practices and certain other things as well, and like certain purse bids that have basically failed because Eddie Hearn doesn't want to spend more money and he loses the purse bids. So especially with certain fights that Dillian White manages, so there's that aspect as well. Now to reference Hatman again, he mentioned about the Fabio Wardley and David Adelea fight, and basically that was supposed to go to a purse bid, and basically it didn't, and they wanted to negotiate directly with the other team. Now he mentioned that this might be down to the fact that because Dillian White's not happy with Eddie Hearn and his shenanigans and his snidiness, that that could be cause as to why this has gone the way it's gone. And not just that, basically that might be one of the reasons why White's popped dirty. Now we've not heard anything from White. He's just made that statement, what he's put out, and that's all. So obviously he's waiting to probably have legal team go through stuff to basically clear his name. Now this is kind of similar to the Rivas situation, where he had the hearing behind closed doors and basically then got like permission to fight, and then basically it turned out that the sample that he was supposed to pop dirty with was contaminated, so he got exonerated. But there was never any actual widespread or like viral news as to how this came about. Now I came across an article about, I think it was Brandon Rios, where a VADA tester came to test him and wanted him to pee in a cup that had Red Bull in it, and he did. And then obviously because of the substance what was in the Red Bull that was in the cup, he popped for PEDs. So something as simple as Red Bull has certain things in it that's on the ban list that can make you pop dirty. So it shows you basically how sensitive the tests are and how certain things can basically upset the test and make you pop dirty. Now I was looking into WADA and VADA. Now VADA is under WADA, and basically they use their labs and their equipment to test. Now VADA is voluntary and it's more to do with the boxing side of things, and it's voluntary. So fighters pay, and it's paid, the pay structure, the way it's done, is supposed to be more reasonable and more fluid, but it's random. So when they get tested, they don't have any warning, and the VAR agents come out and test them. But it seems that because there's no actual, how can I put it, regulatory agency that watches these testers that go out and get the samples, and because they don't have their own actual labs, there is a chance that cross-contamination can happen and manipulation of the samples could happen, because if it's going from them to WADA's labs and their equipment, how do we know that certain people can't be basically influenced or manipulated to do certain things to certain people's tests? Now, it sounds like conspiracy theories, but because there is no regulatory body watching both said parties, WADA and VADA, how do we actually know who is legit and who is actually credible when they're doing what they're doing? So moving on to the Boxing Voice interview with Jess Mcaskill, she mentions quite a lot of things, and what she actually says actually makes a lot of sense, and it kind of coincides with what she was saying about Alicia Baumgardner, and also what I mentioned about Dillian White. But also she mentioned it about herself, that she's supposed to have popped dirty, but she wanted to get her own testers in to test so she can basically refute any claims that if she has popped dirty for anything, she's got her own test as to refute that, so she can actually combat any kind of allegations that come her way that could destroy her career. So it's interesting that fighters are paying for the testing, and then out of the blue the popping dirty. Now, people say that you can cycle on and cycle off, and you can take stuff and then, you know, and it can get out your system in a certain amount of time. But again, certain things that you touch or you come into contact with can contaminate your hands or certain parts of whatever you're using, the utensils for the samples. Now, I don't know how the procedures for collecting the samples are, but surely you're going to need a sterile kind of environment, and you're going to need to make sure that there's nothing that can interfere with the sample when the person's taking the sample. And normally when people have these kind of tests, they are actually done in a way where the person can't basically substitute the actual sample that they're taking for a prepared sample that can basically pass the test. Now, I don't know how stringent VADA are, and I don't know how the protocols are with certain testers when they're going to collect the sample. Now, if the fighters are paying for this service, surely they have to follow the protocols of whatever VADA are doing. But are they stringent in the way they collect the sample? That's another thing we have to ask, because if they are, then the sample will more than likely be a genuine sample. But if they're not, then you don't know if some chicanery is going on with the actual people that are taking the test, and if there's more chicanery again where the tester could switch basically the sample as well. So there's a lot of things to actually look at, and it sounds like a conspiracy theory, but because there's no one from, I don't know, any of the boxing boards or the boxing licensing boards to oversee the samples getting taken, how do we actually know if said people are not being compromised? So the point I'm trying to make is there's a lot of variables that go into the collecting of the sample, and it's just weird how people are popping dirty for PEDs when they're in such prominent positions for certain things, and it's just so basically abrupt and sudden. So anyway, do you think there is a conspiracy with Matchroom, and that there is a weaponized basically drug test going on where certain basically people or promotional companies can manipulate or get people to manipulate certain people's bloods and urine drug test and make them pop dirty? Or do you think the fighters are actually guilty and they've been caught? So leave your comments in the comment section, like, comment and subscribe, and give your thoughts. And thanks for all the subscribers. We're trying to get up to 500 now. We're up to, I think, 265, so there's a little bit more of a ways to go, but I appreciate everyone that has subscribed and liked and comment. And that is another one from Knockout Legends. Peace.